The Philadelphia Eagles finished the 2023 season with an 11-6 record and lost in the wildcard round of the playoffs with a score of 32-9. This was a much different team by the end of the Bucs playoff game than a team that less than 2 months prior beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead and the Bills in a span of 6 days. This team was much different than the team that started 10-1 and became the first team in NFL history to start the year 10-1 and finish with less than 12 wins. There was a lot of speculation on whether or not head coach Nick Sirianni would remain the team's head coach entering the 2024 season due to the collapse, and now that we are a few weeks removed from the Eagles season ending, we know he is going to be the guy in 2024. They replaced former offensive coordinator Brian Johnson with Kellen Moore and former defensive coordinator Sean Desai with the man himself, Vic Fangio. I know there's been a lot of requests to dive into the Eagles situation and to break it all down, and to be completely honest, I wanted to wait until we found out who the coordinators were going to be for the 2024 season. Now that we have some clarity, I think the Philadelphia Eagles' future is extremely bright, and there is a lot to dive into and break down in today's video. Now let's begin. We are starting today's video by discussing why the Eagles' future is bright, and it starts with the hiring of offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. Eagles fans were understandably frustrated with Brian Johnson down the stretch of the 2023 season and putting up 20 points or less in 5 of the team's final 7 games of the year, including the Bucs game of course, starts to show how bad it was for the Eagles in the final weeks of the year. There's plenty of examples we can use to show why it was frustrating down the stretch, but there was a 3-play scenario in particular that I thought kind of summarized the final 2 months of Philly's season. They were 11-4 at the time, and the division title was very much in reach, and they were playing the then 3-win Cardinals. It was 28-28 with 4 minutes to play, and Philly had the ball on Arizona's 20-yard line. The mindset here should be to score a touchdown, and if you're lucky, in addition to scoring a touchdown, we can run 5 or 6 total plays and take 2 to 2.5 minutes off the clock and force Arizona and Jonathan Gannon to call timeouts to give them even less of a chance of winning the game. But it didn't work out like this, and technically this is a 4-play span here, as on 1st and 10, DeAndre Swift ran the ball to the left side for a gain of 0, but on the play, left tackle Jordan Mailata was called for holding, and it was a good call, as you can see him clearly hold Zaven Collins as he was in progress of bringing Swift down for a tackle for loss. And it happens. Every offensive lineman commits a holding penalty. This backed up Philly to a 1st and 20, and with the ball on Arizona's 30-yard line. With playmakers like A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, and Dallas Goedert, Brian Johnson dialed up a quarterback run which Jalen Hurts took for a gain of 4 yards. 2nd and 16 isn't ideal, but it's not the end of the world when you have 2 Pro Bowl caliber receivers. 2nd and 16 is now here, and they call an option play, and Jalen makes the right read because of the Cardinals defender being right there to get a hat on Kenneth Gainwell, leaving Jalen one option, and that is to keep the football. There's nowhere to go, and from 1st and 20 and a minor setback from a holding penalty, we now have 3rd and 19. At this point, the best option is to try and get 10 yards back to make the field goal for Jake Elliott a little closer and to make it a 31-28 game and hope the defense holds. 3rd and 19 is here, and Brian Johnson calls his signature screenplay, and Kenneth Gainwell makes the catch for a gain of 3 yards, and in the process, star receiver Devonta Smith gets hurt. When I was watching this whole scenario play out live, I was fuming for Eagles fans because it's not an exaggeration to say all of this was preventable. One quarterback run with Jalen to try and catch the defense off guard in what looked to be a clear passing situation is whatever, fine, go for it. You got 4 yards, and if you're lucky, you can get 15 yards in the next 2 plays to get a 4th and 1 situation to do the signature tush push to ensure you get the win, or at least the 1st down and touchdown at minimum. Back-to-back runs in this situation was terrible, and a screen in which your 170-pound receiver turns his back to guys that are 250 pounds running his way is a recipe for disaster. While Kellen Moore won't necessarily lead this team to be the highest scoring offense in the league, one thing Kellen is good at is putting his players in position to succeed. That's one reason I like this hire a lot, and one reason why I think the Eagles' future is as bright as it can be. The Chargers' 2023 season didn't go anything according to plan, but a lot of that was out of Kellen's hands, and for any pessimistic fans, it's not reasonable to blame Kellen Moore for the entirety of the Chargers' 2023 season. One play I want to highlight in particular as to why I love this hire for the Eagles goes back to the season opener when the Chargers played the Dolphins. LA comes out in a single back look with twin tight ends to the field side and motions the back and both tight ends to the right side, which gave the Chargers an empty and had their top two receivers in Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the boundary side. When running back Josh Kelley and the tight ends were motioning out, pass rusher Jalen Phillips went with them, and Jalen is a very good pass rusher, and lining him up one-on-one with Gerald Everett is inviting disaster for Miami, and Justin Herbert realizes it's probably going to be a zone coverage call at the bottom of the screen and a cover one up top with the safety helping between Mike and Keenan. This play design is brilliant because you can see Keenan slow his release off the line of scrimmage, which allowed Mike Williams to make his cut in his route while simultaneously bringing the safety down and giving Keenan Allen a one-on-one with linebacker David Long Jr. I like David a lot as a player, but matching him up with Keenan is not a recipe for success for the defense, and Keenan wins this rep and it's a gain of 36. Seeing this type of pre-play motion and utilization of weaponry will be extremely refreshing in Philly, rather than calling screens for Devontae and AJ and expecting them to do the rest. Not only that, but this may be surprising considering how many screens and short passes the Eagles threw in 2023, but believe it or not, Jalen was 4th in completion percentage on passes thrown between 10 and 19 yards from the line of scrimmage in 2023, or what is referred to as the intermediate part of the field. He was only behind Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, and Patrick Mahomes. Out of 96 passes Jalen threw in this range in 2023, only one was intercepted. There was a lot of talk this year about how much Jalen turned the ball over, as he would go on to finish with 15 interceptions, but 8 of those 15 interceptions were on passes 20 or more yards down the field, which ranks second behind only Josh Allen, who finished the year with 18 interceptions. I was very big on the Eagles entering the 2023 season, and they were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. This roster is still loaded, and they are still one of the most talented rosters in the league. Coaching let them down in a big way at the end of the year, but my big question to any Philadelphia Eagles naysayer is, why can't they bounce back next year? They have some big contracts, yes, but their cap situation is far from bad. Per Spotrac, they currently have $18 million available, which is the 18th most in the league. If, or when, we should say, when they cut Kevin Byard, they'll save $13 million, and if they cut Avonte Maddox post June 1st, they'll save $7.1 million, and that's per over the cap. Quickly, that would give them an additional $20 million, and with how many picks the Eagles have, and given they are in a win-now mode, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we saw them try and trade for a corner before the draft starts. They have 4 picks in the top 100, and they have 3 in the top 64, as they have the Saints' second-round pick from a trade prior to the 2022 draft, so Philly definitely has the ammo. That was my only real complaint heading into the 2023 season, was having older corners to start the year in Bradbury and Slay, and due to both aging corners and a bad defensive coordinator, it came up and bit them in the rear end, as Philly would allow 20 or more points in each of their final 8 games. Corner will not be the only position that has to be addressed this offseason, and both running back and linebacker will too. DeAndre Swift ran for over 1,000 yards in his lone season with the Eagles, and I can't imagine there's not mutual interest in him coming back, given he is from the Philly area and went to high school at St. Joseph's Prep, which is in Philly, and I would be surprised if there's not a little bit of a hometown discount. This is a great situation for Swift, as the fans love him. He will run behind a solid offensive line, and he has had success with the Birds. With how running back contracts are in today's NFL thanks to the CBA structure, which could merit an entire video on its own, there's probably not going to be a serious bidding war for Swift, and with Swift being from Philly, I would like to think he would let his agent know that he would like to give Philly a chance to match any offer he receives, or at least to go to Howie Roseman about the offer and see what they could come up with. Even if in the scenario Swift leaves, he's not irreplaceable, as unfortunately no running back in today's NFL is truly irreplaceable, and there are plenty of running backs Philly could go after. Linebacker will also be a need for the Eagles this offseason, and the linebacker class in the 2024 draft isn't the best or anywhere close to what other positions in the 2024 draft are, like receiver, for example. And I know Eagles fans have been vocal about wanting Howie Roseman to take a linebacker in the first round at points throughout his tenure, but that's not plausible in the 2024 draft, and there is a real chance they can get Jeremiah Trotter Jr. from Clemson in the third round, which, yes, he is exactly who you think he is, the son of former Eagles linebacker in the early to mid-2000s, Jeremiah Trotter. So entering the 2024 season, we're looking at a few positions the Eagles have to address, which is corner, linebacker, and center, which could be hit or miss depending if Jason Kelce retires. I'm not going to sit here and act like I have any sort of inside knowledge on this, but what I will say is with the addition of Kellen Moore, this is only going to make the Eagles offense more efficient as a whole and should improve upon an offense that finished top 7 in points in 2023 and top 8 in yards in 2023, and that was with several games that were effectively thrown away. Not only that, but I can't imagine there's going to be a murderer's row of opponents down the stretch of the 2024 season like they had in 2023, in which they played the Cowboys, Chiefs, Bills, 49ers, and Cowboys, all in a span of 5 games, with a few of those teams coming off byes, and a few of those teams having a couple of extra days rest as they were coming off of Thursday night games, or in Philly's case, coming off of a Monday night game. I look at the Eagles entering the 2024 season and look at a team that won 11 games this year, and with a few key fixes, which they already addressed, well, simply put, there's no reason they can't improve the roster and win 12 games next year and be right back in the thick of things. This isn't a 3-win team hoping they nail draft picks and hoping they can do what the Texans did in one offseason. This is a team 1 year removed from taking the best quarterback of this generation down to the wire in the Super Bowl, and they nearly won it. Jalen Hurts has played at an MVP level at times throughout each of the past 2 years and finished second in MVP voting in 2022 behind only Patrick Mahomes. I know a lot of Eagles fans strongly dislike Mahomes, as winning a Super Bowl against your team will do that, but there's no shame in finishing second in MVP to him. Jalen still had a good year in 2023 compared to most quarterbacks, and that was with a lot of things working against not just Jalen, but the entire team. He finished the year with nearly 4,500 total yards of offense and 38 total touchdowns. But now you're telling me they hired 2 great coordinators that will maximize what their players can do and get the most out of them? The Eagles are going to be fine, and their future is extremely bright. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, as only about 33% of people watching are subscribed, and it helps the channel tremendously. Until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.